established in our federal laws. If you work in this company, you have to have CGMP training, and this is going to be the basics. Does anybody know where you find CGMP training requirements in the CFR?
21?
21 CFR, that's good.
That's the best I can do.
Anybody know any more?
Where'd you find it?
Uh-huh.
On the FDA? On the little bit that you give us to us?
In 21 CFR
58.
211,
Part 11 or 58?
part 11, 211.
Ah.
The 80, oh,
211.25 under personnel requirements states the fact that you must have CGMP training. Also in the QSR under 820.25 states the fact that you must have personnel training and you must be trained in the QSR. And then under the food GMPs, 110.10, education and training, again requires that you have it. Does anybody know where the requirements are under 111? Okay, I would suggest that you look that up. Okay, what is our responsibility? Our responsibility basically affects the human lives of everybody around us. Everybody takes meds. Everybody uses a device periodically in their life. Some people are a living device. So therefore, what we do affects the health of millions. And when you go down and you eating a Snickers bar, what's the likelihood that you just peel off the wrapper and slap it in your mouth without inspecting it?
Because I trust that the people who do the quality control make sure that everything was fine and acceptable.
So in other words, you trust the people that make that bar.
Yes, sir.
Anybody ever open up a Coke and find something else in it?
Not yet.
Not me. It's been on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times that you open up a product and it's not what you expect it to be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, history lesson. What happened in mid-1980s?
Is that the Tylenol killings?
That was the
Okay.
Tylenol killings. How often do you now go open up a bottle of Tylenol and pop two in your mouth and go on? Not even think about it. And how many died because of the Tylenol killings?
Less than 50, I think. Frank Young lost his job.
Right.
I worked for him.
So there are a number of people that lost their jobs, but we continue going. But we've restored the trust that J&J had with their Tylenol. All right, manufacturing guidelines. We got to make sure that everything that we make is safe, pure, and effective. So therefore, you must test for safety, purity, and effectiveness. It's the law. If you fail to follow the law, there are consequences. People in this industry do go to jail. Failure to follow the law causes courtrooms, causes personal expense. Okay, does anybody want to talk about small product made in Puerto Rico that certain people take for sinus infections and sinus activity?
We're talking about sharing plow? Before you get from sharing plow?
Sharing plow. What happened with sharing plow?
I believe it was there was no active ingredient in those products.
Well,
Or they're adulterated. That's what I remember.
I mean, there's a lot of issues that sharing plow had. But what caused some of the employees to go to jail? Okay. At Sharing Plow, there were two mechanics. And they were going around and reviewing a stability chamber. And they went up to the stability chamber and became fortune tellers and decided to go ahead and record not only that day's review of temperature and humidity, but they decided, because the FDA was present, that they would go ahead and write the next 2 weeks and put in all that data. Man, they were good. They knew exactly where it was going to be. They didn't need to inspect it anymore. Subsequently of that, the FDA noted the fact that they had written the next 2 weeks down on their charts and came in and started asking questions. Well, management began to cover up the fact that it was 2 weeks of data that didn't actually exist. So, FDA prosecuted those individuals in court. They spent some time at Leavenworth, Kansas. Does anybody know what Leavenworth, Kansas is?
Federal penitentiary.
Federal penitentiary. You get 3 square meals a day,
And a lot of company.
and you get some company. Well, those 2 mechanics needed some company.
Oh.
So, who do you think that the FDA further prosecuted more severely than those 2 mechanics?
I assume the people who tried to cover up.
It was the people that tried to cover up. Who would you expect those people to be? Well,
Alcatraz maybe, maybe probably open Alcatraz.
It was closed, I think.
They're
well,
open for them.
the main folks that they tried to prosecute were the supervisor of the mechanics, the manager of the mechanics. In addition to that, you know, you get into quality. So you got to go after the QC manager. You got to go after the QA manager. You got to go after the regulatory manager. You got to go after the plant manager. You got to go after the quality director. Because you don't want those 2 mechanics to be sitting in Leavenworth all alone without company. Think about the opportunity. So again, don't cover up what you do wrong. Why is it necessary to participate in CGMP training? We have to follow step-by-step instructions. Those instructions are given to us in our SOPs. If we don't follow our SOPs, we don't meet the regulations. The regulations require that we have SOPs. So what does the GMP quality system look like? Well, this is the early days, and it hasn't really changed much from here. But you have customer expectations. You as a consumer have expectations of what the drugs are that you take, what the devices are that you have used either in your body or outside your body. You have expectations of the foods you eat. You have expectations of the drinks that you have. If you have dietary supplements for vitamins, you have expectations for those. Does anybody know how many dietary supplement samples that we've tested and how many of them have actually met label claim? We've tested a bunch. 0 have met label claim today. Why? People leave out items. It may be on the list of ingredients, it may be on the label, but it may not be able to be found in the product. That's a scary thought. And we've been testing dietary supplements for almost 7 years. And it's not necessarily small names that are in the marketplace. It is some large names. All right. We also have regulatory expectations. The FDA has expectations of somebody that produces or tests products. We also have people, employees, and suppliers. You have expectations of the people that work here. You have expectations of the people that come in. You have expectations of the clients. You have expectations of the suppliers. By the way, in this industry, we use the word supplier, not vendor. The vendor sells hot dogs. Here, everybody's a supplier. We also have records, policies, and procedures. That's all the written documentation to support the fact that you are compliant. You also have to have the proper building, proper materials in that building, and the proper equipment to execute CGMP work. All of our equipment here is qualified. We ensure that it works accurately and precisely. The building here is made of brick, so it won't blow away in the next high wind. There's also company expectations. Here at Sudical Labs, we want to grow. We have an expectation to finally make a profit someday. And all those are good things. But again, there are company expectations to continue to grow. Under the QSR, we have very similar subsystems circled around the quality system. However, management is at the heart of the quality system. If you don't have management at the heart, who's going to take responsibility for the quality system? So FDA has placed management at the core of the quality system. So whenever they go in and perform an audit, they want to know who the management is. They don't want to see management, they just want to know who they are because of the fact that that's who they're going to go prosecute. Oh, a little side note. How many FDA prosecutorial attorneys were hired in 2012? 2,500. Does that tell you something as to how the FDA sees industry? That spoke volumes to me. All right, so at the heart of every audit is what we call CAPA, or corrective actions, preventative actions. Anytime that there's an error, you must correct it. But at the same time, once you've corrected it, you got to think through the entire process to see if you can't prevent it from ever happening again. And while you're preventing that problem from occurring, you need to be a little wider focused and evaluate whether or not you can prevent other things from happening that may be interrelated. That gets very deep in a hurry. You also have production and process controls. You have batch records. You have requirements within those batch records. The product that you produce must meet specification. You have equipment and facility controls. You want to make sure that you have total control of the process.